Today, we're going to talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction: AI-driven social scoring. It's technology that says it can measure how trustworthy we are, but man, does it bring up some huge questions about where we're all headed. I mean, really think about that for a second. Every single purchase you make, every person you talk to, every little move, all of it quietly being logged, feeding into one single, powerful number that could basically define your entire life. So, what about the stuff you post online? That dumb joke you tweeted this morning? What if an AI analyzed it for sentiment and docked you a few points? Or how about this? What if the system started judging you based on who your friends are, based on their online behavior? And yeah, that picture from the party last weekend, could an algorithm see that and flag it as, I don't know, high-risk behavior? This isn't just a thought experiment anymore. This is the world of social scoring. So, at its core, social scoring is pretty simple. It uses algorithms to take our messy, complicated human lives and boil them all down to a single number. And that score, well, it can be used to make some pretty big decisions about you: what you can buy, where you're allowed to go, even what jobs you can get. So you might be wondering, where does all this data come from? Well, a lot of the time it starts with us, with the information we willingly put out there on LinkedIn to show off our career, or on Instagram to share our lives. And this is where it gets really wild. AI models take all that raw data and just process everything. The words in your bio, the stuff in your pictures, the tone of your comments, it all gets churned together to build this detailed behavioral profile, like a digital sketch of who the AI thinks you are. And oh, it definitely does not stop with you. The AI can analyze your entire network, your social graph. If you're connected to a bunch of high-flying professionals, that might boost your score. But if your friends have low scores, well, they could actually drag you down with them. Now, when you talk about this stuff, there's one real-world example that everyone thinks of, and it's probably the most famous and, yeah, the most controversial: China's social credit system. But this system didn't just appear out of nowhere. The idea actually goes all the way back to 1999, when they were trying to build more trust in a booming economy. Then came the official plan in 2014, a bunch of local pilot projects, and now the focus has really shifted more towards regulating businesses, not just everyday people. But within these pilot systems, the stakes are incredibly high. Behave well, and you could get some serious perks, like easier loans or your kids getting priority for good schools. But on the other side, if you get blacklisted for not following the rules, you could face some major penalties, like being banned from buying a plane or train ticket. And holding some of these programs together is this just massive web of technology. We're talking an estimated 600 million surveillance cameras, a lot of them with facial recognition. It creates this constant, real-time feedback loop between what you do in public and what happens to you because of it. Okay, so it's really easy to imagine this single, all-powerful system watching everyone. But the truth, well, it's a lot more complicated. Let's try and untangle some of the biggest myths. The biggest myth by far is that there's this one magical algorithm that spits out a single score for every single citizen. The reality is, it's a messy patchwork of different local and corporate systems. And the main focus is on things like business and legal compliance, paying your taxes, following court orders. Not so much on little things like jaywalking. As China expert Vincent Bruzi puts it, the whole thing is not the techno-dystopian nightmare we often fear. And the most important part, that kind of single, all-encompassing score, it just doesn't exist. The reality is more bureaucratic and way less Black Mirror than we tend to think. So if that sci-fi horror version isn't quite real in China, we can all just relax, right? Well, not exactly, because the basic ideas behind social scoring, they're already all around us. And here's where the story takes a really fascinating twist. You want to know where part of the inspiration came from? According to researchers, it was traditional Western credit scoring systems. That kind of forces you to look at our own way of doing things in a whole new light, doesn't it? So let's put them side by side. At first, the differences seem obvious. China's system is about legal compliance, while Western scores are mostly about financial risk. But check out that transparency row. China has public blacklists, sure, but in the West, we rely on these secret proprietary algorithms that nobody is allowed to look inside. They're complete black boxes. The building blocks for a wider social score are already here. We have reputation scores on Uber and Airbnb. Insurance companies are using AI to scan your social media for risky hobbies that could raise your rates. And some companies use e-scores to decide if you're a good cultural fit before you even get an interview. These are all just different flavors of social scoring, run by private companies instead of the government. So all of this brings us to what might be the most important question of all. What's the actual human cost when we let algorithms start judging our character? As scholar Jackie Wang points out, these systems make a really dangerous jump in logic. They take simple data, like having medical debt, which can happen to anyone, and they use it to make a moral judgment about who you are as a person. And that gets right to the core problem with the technology itself. As Dr. Ruha Benjamin says, an AI has no moral imagination. It can see data, it can see behaviors, but it can't understand context or compassion. It can see you paid a bill late, it has no idea you were in the hospital taking care of a sick relative. It can't read our humanity. And the ultimate danger here is that these scores create a new kind of automated class system. A low score could lock you out of getting an education or a good job, trapping you in a cycle that's almost impossible to escape. Your score could literally determine your wealth, your power, and your status in life. Which leaves us with one final, very personal question. In a world run by these scores, where being your authentic self might actually hurt you, would you start changing who you are? Would you curate your life, your friends, even your own personality, just to please